Hello, Star Wars Galaxy of Hero players. This is Anditesh Ordo, and today I'm going to be talking about droids. I've done some droid videos in the past, and I've kind of, when I did my live stream with Offline Able, we were talking a lot about separatists, and I still feel like some droids can still be, or there's a couple of droids that could be reworked a little bit, at least until we get like a separatist faction rework and where they add droids into the game. Excuse me. And also, I was also watching one of Mobile Gamer's older videos based on BB-8 when he came out, on how good he was, and they're actually testing it with a droid team. That team being HK88, R2, B2, and BB-8. And obviously there's a lot of different combinations and fixings of a droid team to where it would make it more really, viable. So I'm going to hope to talk about those a little bit. So first off, yes, there's a couple of droids I am going to suggest ever since rework and or release. I still feel like they can be improved a little bit to make them a little more droid worthy. But first off, I do want to talk about the big fish in the room. I don't remember the phrase. HK47 as a leader, I feel like he needs a buff. I feel like he needs a good buff to his leadership ability and his unique. He needs a Zeta, and I still feel that Meatbag Mayhem should give at least days to the list, so he has a chance to counter the Luke Skywalker teams that are like running rampant right now. Kind of sad, but I'm gonna also show that probably will show the excuse me, the my chart of where everyone's at. So when I was watching the video of Mobile Gamer, so this is kind of their idea, they were thinking of looking into some ideas to improving like health and protection, and that could be an option for giving droid allies 30% crit chance, maybe 30% max health, max protection, and maybe even 30% critical avoidance. I still say critical avoidance should still be used. I know critical immunity is like the top, but sometimes critical avoidance still can be handy when you don't have that buff above your character's head. So critical immunity or critical avoidance is really good to have. So maybe having, like 4 stat bonuses plus this, 50% turn meter on a critical hit would be great. I still feel like droid allies should still have this, turn meter gain on a critical hit. And maybe even half the 50% if they inflict a debuff. So it kind of counters the... it still gets around some of those critical or the critical immunities. Maybe not. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe even granting offensive, like that one I could be wrong on, but with R2 does at least, fill that role really well. But I still think HK could still fill that role even better as a leader. There's a lot of things they could do with this. I still hope they can at least have it to where HK at least revives himself. And maybe, at the beginning of, combat, or the combat, here's an idea I just thought of, as I was trying to get it out of my mouth. At the beginning of combat, he starts off with giving a random ally a reconstruction buff that does not go away, a random droid ally, and if that droid dies, of course this is when he's in play, this is when HK's in play at the beginning, when that droid dies, he comes back at the health and turn meter or the health percentage that is suggested as a one-time thing, and it's a random droid. So something to think about. So next I want to talk about Grievous. We don't need to talk about Chopper. Chopper's the one. I'm gonna go over it again. I feel like two abilities need to be reworked a little bit. First off, Cantankerous Clanker. This droid is still pretty dang squishy for being a tank type droid. He's more of a support build. Like, you have to literally build this guy with, like, a couple of, mods with some speed on him, obviously. like throw an arrow mod with 30 speed on him. And then, the rest throw a bunch of protection on him and stuff like that. But like his taunt, he taunts for 1 turn, and then while he has a taunt, he has 30% evasion. This, when he taunts against a Han Solo will do a lot of damage to him because his basic can't be avoided. So this evasion buff does not really, to be honest, doesn't really work well. And a few ways I would remedy this is when he taunts, he also gains critical immunity up and defense up. So he has that little bulk up to being a tank for 1 turn. Like maybe the taunt stays for 1 turn, but the critical immunity and the defense up stays for 2 turns. And I think that would really make, Chopper a little more durable, especially if you do eventually get him to work on a droid team. He still can actually just throw that taunt up. And especially since our Chopper is used on some BB-8 teams with like Akbar lead, Thrawn lead, just one of those random teams that a couple players actually throw up on YouTube. They do pretty dang well though. So yeah. The second one, okay, now I'm not talking about this bottom part, the new part they added on. I'm not talking about the chance to assist, etc. I'm talking about this first part. At the start of each turn, Chopper recovers 15% max health. In addition, when he is damaged by an attack, he gains protection up 15% if he doesn't have protection up. I feel like that upper part, I wish I'd paragraph this. I wish that upper part was set up to actually support droids as well, because under a Phoenix-led team of Hera is spreading that around. I still feel like Chopper could give that bonus to droids. So at least if someone wants to, they can work with running a light side droid team under a Lobot or a Akbar team, which I will talk about that type of team in a minute. So yeah, that is, the ideal thing I can see with Chopper. Chopper getting protection up, or at least droids on his team get that chance to get protection up and heal up during their turns, because it's maintenance protocols. It makes sense to have droid teams get that bonus. The next ability, K2SO, I could talk through. I've already talked about a bunch of times. But now the new character, BB-8. And I will admit, I regret Omegaing covert data transfer. I regret it to this day because I wasn't paying attention to it when I Omega'd it as my first ability to Omega. Well, speaking of which, I can actually Omega one of these. Haha! So I think I will Illuminated Destiny. There we go. I do not have those, so yeah, that was smart. Anyways, covert data, the ability to give it taunt where it grants taunt or gains taunt for 1 turn. Oh, I don't get that. It's like, I can see where it kind of makes sense. Droid teams do need a good taunting tank. Like, they need a good cleanser, which BB-8 kind of turns into later in the game. But they also need a good tank that taunts. Before, droid teams, dropped off the radar, it was HK, 86, 88, B2, and then they had a mix of like B2 and Chief Nibbit, and then they had Jawa Engineer. BB-8 easily replaces Jawa Engineer. It's just he doesn't cleanse as well as, we'd want it to. But he still cleanses with his Illuminated Destiny, so that's still good on that part. But the taunting, I feel like I do not want BB-8 taunting. I want BB-8 to get a chance to get up there and throw a covert or throw up, the Illuminated Destiny as soon as possible. So my suggestion would be to change this to do something different, like maybe gain stealth. Because you don't want BB-8 to be taunting. It makes no sense. I feel like Chopper in Rebels TV series did more of a taunting feel than BB-8 ever did. BB-8 just kind of ran away. So maybe granting evasion up or foresight up instead of taunt up would be great. Or if they do want to keep taunts, give, like I did with Chopper, because he is still a squishier droid than like HK and B2 Super Battle Droid. Give him crit immunity and defense up along with it. So it makes sense to have him taunting, and at least he's having some sort of like, and at least he's surviving. He's being a little more survivable on a full droid team. Because like I said, I still regret it. I wish I could take the Omega off of this ability and throw it on my arc welder, leave the covert data transfer alone, and then eventually Zeta the other two, and just leave it like that. Because then you could just have R2D2. Because if you do watch Mobile Gamer channel, they do suggest throwing up Foresight and Advantage onto HK-47. That way you can trigger B2 Super Battle Droids unique to have them like dispel and a bunch of times, and if you throw it on BB-8, you're gonna lose him pretty quickly, especially when there's Han Solos running around. Han Solo just chews through him with his basic, and if you watch his video, it does show it. So but yeah, that is a few things I wanted to talk about with a droid team, or at least with those droids, where I could see them be improved. They're not like a major improvement, it's just a slight improvement that would help them out in the long run. And now I do want to quickly go over to the teams I've talked about. So I have talked about a Lobot team in the past, which is great. However, I feel like there's a leadership that always tends to beat him. Let's go to the team. Actually, I was just right there. Dang it. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, it's not even there. So I have this team here. This team is, it's still a great team. You got Lobot as the leader. So Lobot's giving droid speed and 10 potency. That's a good support. But that's all it's giving. And the one you want to replace him, which probably a lot of you kind of see, that does a whole lot better anyways, is none other than Akbar. Replacing Lobot with Akbar, because you're getting the same speed, and instead of potency, you get tenacity, and then you get the ability, in addition, whenever an ally uses the ability that isn't an attack, they call a rebel ally as to assist. Of course, I'm perfectly okay if they copy this ability to Lobot and give it to where it's a droid ally, mind you. Because then you can run Lobot teams with R2 and BB-8, where they're always attacking, and then you have like General Kenobi and like Thrawn or Shore Trooper, and then you just got BB-8 and R2 just going through and taunting or attacking, giving tenacity down and stunning the enemy. That would be great. But for the most part, until they do a good, decent rework with Lobot, which, again, I still like the idea of Lobot being similar to Akbar, just, tutoring it towards droids. I still feel like a light side droid team, of course, yeah, mind you, it's a light side droid team, this would be the best build, because Akbar is going to be granting everyone a chance to attack, well, except BB-8, which is fine. You want more of a chance to have R2 to attack. So giving R2 a chance to attack a bunch. K2SO does attack a bunch, and let's see, his basic 70% chance to inflict the offense down for 2 turns. You're inflicting offense down, so you're going to be inflicting that down, stunning, and then Akbar's basic, or he gains some turn meter maybe, and then Chopper, where he can reduce cooldowns and a chance to give a random buff to a droid ally is great. It's great. So again, I feel like this is a good team. I did talk about the team before with Lobot, but Lobot in comparison has always been shined by, or Akbar just outshines him. That's the way I'm trying to say it. Akbar outshines him, and it still works this way. Now, again, like I said, you could still build the Lobot one, you're just going to lose the bonus attacks, which the bonus attacks would really help BB-8, especially if it's the droid rebels, like R2 critically hits the opponent, Chopper critically hits, and K2 critically hits them. That's going to help reduce the covert transfer option. Now, the downside, like, this team is, really defensive. Between R2 giving a lot of health and protection up, K2 is a tank, as well as Chopper's a tank. You don't have... Another nice benefit of this is BB-8's not going to taunt. That's great. The awesome taunt... The majority taunter is going to be K2SO. BB-8 doesn't need to be taunting all the time because he doesn't need to be taken down. You want to get him covert transferred, up. So the powerhouses of this team is kind of... definitely R2 and then kind of Akbar. That's really it. So that is where, they stand. And this team is kind of a good, generally built team. You got a cleanser. You do got a dispeller with Chopper. And granted, you could replace Chopper with B2 Super Battle Droid. That would work great. You got a good taunter through K2SO. He gets hit, he counters, and he taunts again. A majority of the time. And that's awesome. And also on top of the fact, you got, Akbar also can give BB-8 a double what's it called? Covert data transfer. So Akbar does his master plan, BB-8 or one of the droids attacks, then BB-8 goes in, does his covert transfer, calls an assist, does it again, calls another assist. And actually, this is a team that is viable to where it can get around the counter chances, because countering is being done based on an ability used by the opponent that did damage, and not the fact of, assists. Assists get around that all the time. So honestly, yes, if they improved Chopper a little bit, obviously I can still see K2SO being improved a bit, especially since K2SO is a droid, and I feel like he's still a droid that can support. And then this team might actually be a little viable. And then maybe, replacing it with Lobot, and Lobot gets a little bit better as well. And does something similar to Akbar, but for droids, then you might actually have a viable, not a permanent replacement for HK, even though HK is still really good with the critical turn meter. But right now you have Akbar for the massive assists. And again, like I said, you could replace Chopper with B2 Super Battle Droid, or you could replace Chopper with IG-88 for some massive damage. And then that way you still have at least a tank. You lose a dispeller, but you gain a really good massive attacker. And unfortunately, he does not gain any sort of assists, but it makes it to where only 3 characters are assisting instead of 4. So, but again, that is my thoughts on droids. Let me know in the comments below, do you like this type of team here at the end? And my thoughts on, improving at least Chopper and BB-8. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, subscribe. And again, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. And have a wonderful day. And since today is still Halloween, have a happy Halloween.